Well, you can almost see it from here. That would be Route 22 out there at the entrance to the Broderick Road on the way into Airborne Speedway. Route 22 south of Plattsburgh and Salmon River. And I have to tell you that it's been at least 30 or maybe 35 years since I've been here. As those people who've known me for a very long time might know, the radio station for which I worked for 36 years broadcast the races live for a long, long time. And I was telling Calvin as I was climbing up here into the tower that I've seen some pretty spectacular crashes here, and a flood of memories comes through as I crawl up here. Before Charlie died, we had an interview with Charlie at the Woodman camp up in Chazy. And we talked about a race that he was in, and he crashed right down here on turn 1 when I was broadcasting. And I dropped the microphone and ran over to see if Charlie was all right. And that was almost my last day at the radio station, but we did survive. Another time, the wiry mobile unit was T-boned by one of the errant drivers who went into the infield, which was right out here, which the place where all the cars were located in those days. So it's a lot of fun. Rob Knowles, where'd you go?
Oh, back here.
Get over here. We're going to talk a senior race day. Senior Citizen Council of Clinton County started out this morning offering a variety of things for people of all ages, including some storytelling, which I was prepared to do and did to most of the people who worked here, including some of the youngsters. We had a lot of fun. But the public did not necessarily embrace that aspect of the day. Rob Knowles, great to see you, my friend.
Nice to see you, Gordy. Nice to see Calvin here.
The voice and face of racing here at Airborne for how long now?
Well, this is my third year back here at Airborne after a little separation where I was coaching American Legion Baseball.
Of course you were.
Clinton County Mariners. And before that, I announced back when Tom Curling and Ken Squire on the racetrack.
Way back when.
Yeah, under the ACT days. And I announced for them for 5 years. And then for a couple of the years, I was trying to do both. The auto racing on Saturday nights, baseball over the course of the weekend. It just is a lot of travel.
Nothing else to do, right?
Well, yeah. And then, of course, I have a young family, and once we had our second son, the baseball really just started to be a little bit too much travel and time-wise, and it wasn't fair to them. So I stopped doing the baseball. That kind of opened up my weekends again, and came back here to announce Saturday night. So this is my third year back since that little break in between where I was running around the baseball field.
So you've been joining your big brother.
Yes, yeah. Actually, Rick...
Who isn't nearly so big. What did he do, lose some weight?
He's lost a little bit, yeah, to something close to the tune of about 150 pounds, which is good for him.
He's a shadow of us.
Well, he's still a big guy.
Pretty big shadow like I am.
I'm sure you'll see him soon, but Rick got back into announcing here last year. When I first came back, Cowboy Cal, who was a personality on WOKO over in Vermont, he was announcing here with me, and then Cal decided to stop doing it for family reasons as well, and that opened up a spot, and my brother jumped back on the bandwagon last year. So this is his second year back after many years working here at the Speedway.
We should tell our viewers at Hometown Cable who may never have heard of the Speedway that they should come out here for fun on a Saturday night.
Yeah, you know, the track has really undergone a lot of changes, and a lot of the changes have been with the fan in mind. The bleachers that were put in about 10 years ago, the big grandstand that is to our left on the front stretch, the concession stand area was completely redone 2 seasons ago. The bathrooms have been completely redone as well, and I think one of the main priorities for Steve Fuller, track owner, and Randy Trudeau, the track manager, Mike Perotti, the promoter, is they want to try to get the community more involved with the type of events that they had set up today. Northern Sanitation has had events out here as well, open houses, fun days, to try to get people here who maybe don't necessarily, they might watch NASCAR, but maybe don't necessarily understand what happens here at the Speedway, trying to get those folks to come out and see for themselves some of the fun and excitement that goes on here on a Saturday night.
We spent a lot of exciting nights here back in the olden days.
Sure. And
for those viewers who might be old enough to remember, we remember when The late Red O'Connor was the track announcer here back when. He was also the civil defense director in the city of Plattsburgh. How far back does that go?
So he put all those yellow and black signs on all the buildings around the town, those fallout shelter signs, probably.
What a guy, and we had an awful lot of fun in those days. This track, I believe, is going into its 53rd year, thanks to Morris Broderick. And
yeah, I think its first year was 1954. So based on my stat sheet, which tells me there was a track champion in 1954.
There you go.
So I think we're in our 54th season.
54th season. That's even better. And it's gone through, as you said, many changes. The length has actually changed.
It has.
A bit down through the years.
Yep. Originally, I don't know if Calvin can get a shot of it. If you look over towards turn number 3, Calvin, which is to your left, Calvin's smart enough, I think, to figure out our turn direction. But you see where there are some white cars that were actually used in one of our events that we had earlier in the year up in turn number 3, way off in the distance. The track used to extend right up into that area. And it was actually, I think, a little bit larger than a true half mile. Nowadays, what we have is just under a half mile. We call it a half mile. You know, we don't want to come out with some metric measurement to actually figure out what it is, but it's a half-mile speedway, and a lot of the short tracks across the Northeast run a third of a mile, a quarter of a mile, like over in Barrie, Thunder Road's just a quarter of a mile. So it's a half-mile asphalt track, and with that half-mile distance, you see a lot more speed here than what you would see at some of those smaller bull rings that are around the Northeast.
And believe me, when you're sitting here in the grandstands or standing against the fence, you're seeing racing real up close and personal, aren't you?
Yeah, these guys, especially in our modified division, they're turning miles per hour in the 120 mile per hour range. They're really flying, especially on the front stretch or on the back stretch. So these cars can really go, and it's great that we have a lot of local drivers from this side of the lake. Most of our drivers now are from New York. In days past, a lot of the drivers were coming from across the lake, from Vermont. Not to say that we don't still have a good contingent of Vermonters in the field. We do. And we also have a number of people from Quebec, some Quebec drivers who come down. As a matter of fact, we just had a big race here a few nights ago, and the $3,000 went to Napierville, Quebec, and Martin Roy, who spends, by the way, he spends a lot of it, at least Jean-Claude Fortin.
Yeah.
You see those yellow and red 410 transport trucks all the time going up and down the highway. But Jean-Claude spends a lot of his time in Champlain and Rouse's Point during the day, and he brings his team down here. They race regularly on Saturday nights, and he was the big winner a couple of nights ago. $3,000 went the way of Martin Roy, who's from Napierville. And that's great to have the drivers from Quebec that are coming down, because as you know, this track's history dating back through the years, there's always been some really good runners out of the province of Quebec that have raced here.
And it wasn't always asphalt.
No, it's gone back and forth from dirt to asphalt many times in its history. As a matter of fact, most recently, I want to say somewhere back around 1989, 1990, this was still a dirt surface, and then when Ken Squire and Tom Curley purchased this track, they turned it into an asphalt track, and it's been that way dating back, again, the year that I'll use is 1990. I think that's when the track switched to asphalt, and it's been an asphalt track since that time.
A great deal of racing history has been written right here at this track. There are all the names we might get into and we might not before this day is through, but names that are so familiar to people who have lived around here for a long time. So I don't think racing is going anywhere. There were a few years when we were a little bit worried. Of course, Ken Squire's a super guy, and even people who haven't watched racing here for many years might be familiar with his name, because he really put it on the map, didn't he?
Yeah, he sure did. Ken Squire was the guy who really pitched to CBS at the time that the Daytona 500 in particularly is a race that ought to be televised live on national television. And Ken Squire was the voice of NASCAR when it first hit national television, and largely through a lot of his work and a lot of his efforts and ingenuity, a lot of his ideas, it made NASCAR really a household event, and it brought NASCAR from what was really a southern sport into a much more well-known national entity. And you're right, Ken Squire is a pioneer, not just in managing a short track and what they do over at Thunder Road. Thunder Road is certainly held up to a high standard. A lot of other racetracks are looking at what Thunder Road does, and they say, hey, that's a pretty good idea, maybe we should try it too. But what he has done nationally for auto racing really is a major feat.
Now tell me a little bit about how you're set up to when you broadcast the races.
Well, we actually, now that we're doing Motorsports Magazine again, which airs on Hometown Cable, we have a track videographer, and we have his video feed going into a live DVD recorder. It's actually a DVD RAM, so it's not going onto a DVD, it's recording into memory. So we'll record right from up here. We're standing on our press box, as we call it. You see the little hut to our left, that's where the scorers stay. So they're scoring the races inside, and that's pretty much race control. The race director will be inside. Sometimes they'll go to the left side of this press box as well. The scorers are inside. We announce from right over to our left, just outside. So if it rains, we start to feel it too. We're outside. The little white television that you see is something that is that we've also incorporated this year, and it allows officials to replay video. If something goes on that maybe they're not sure if there was contact in an incident, they want to maybe throw a black flag at a driver and send them to the back of the pack, now they can replay the video, watch the incident, and we've actually done that many times this year. We actually used it for the first time earlier this season on a photo finish. The finish was so close that we actually went back to the videotape to figure out who actually won the race. So it actually comes in very handy, the fact that we have the video. But all of our announcing, we do all of that to our left. We have a mixer that's right over there that controls our audio signal that's going out, and then our track videographer stands just to our right. We send the image over to him. Again, he's sending the image rather into that DVD RAM recorder.
Yeah, it's kind of sad that you got that TV camera. It takes all the fun out of it. In the old days, that used to lead to some pretty handy fist fights out in the pit area.
Well, that still happens once in a while. Unfortunately, you know, a lot of these guys that are in auto racing, there's a lot of money, of course, that's involved. For these guys, that, you know, they might not golf, they might not go out fishing, they might not have the power boat. This is their hobby, and they put a lot of time and effort and money into their race cars. And when things don't go well, obviously frustration can sometimes build up, and that frustration is sometimes taken out, unfortunately, on the wrong people. But you know, that is sometimes the nature of auto racing as well. Tempers flare up, and people get a little hot under the collar sometimes.
It happens in lots of sports.
Sure it does.
There is some old video. There are some old 8mm and 16mm movie film of racing here back in the early days, and it was a riot with a guy by the name of Art Prairie, who was a starter, standing in the middle of the track. Yeah. The drivers are trying to miss him, and he's trying to get real close because the fans loved it.
Yeah.
How the man stayed alive, I will never know.
Yeah, not only here, but even back, you go to Indianapolis 500 tape way back when, and the flagman used to be practically on the racetrack, if not on the racetrack. And you're right, you got to wonder if those guys were
both sides.
Maybe they were half intoxicated in order to do that job. It makes you wonder what they were thinking.
Maybe more than half. But that doesn't happen anymore.
No, not anymore. You know, when I was young, I think it was Paul Valairs, the late Paul Valairs, who was flagging here. And I remember they used to put a barrel coming off the fourth turn down either on the inside of the track to try to make sure that the drivers would hit a certain point on the racetrack coming off the turn. And sometimes cars would, coming to get the green flag, hit that big steel barrel, and that would go flying into the air. So they've done some different things that have prompted curiosity and interest in auto racing.
Lots of things have happened here over the years. So many people have gotten wet behind the ears with racing right here. The very first car on the track, the hobby division through the years.
That's
and
right.
Then they graduate and make it. You call it a hobby for many of these people, and for many of them, it's their way of life.
Well, for most of the people that are here, most of the guys that are driving in our divisions here at Airborne, it is more of a sport. It is more of a hobby. I'm not sure we have anybody really in our pit area that this is their thing. You know, this is what they do. But we have had drivers who have raced locally at Airborne, gone on to bigger and better things, and then it has become their way of life.
Yeah.
And there are drivers who run around with different touring groups, and auto racing is their way of life as well, just traveling here across the Northeast. One of our headline division, we run dirt modifieds on the asphalt. Now that is unique. We're really the only asphalt track in the Northeast that is doing that. But there are drivers who race dirt modifieds for a living. And They travel all across the Northeast, and in our big show here this past Wednesday night, we had a couple of drivers that are doing that. So you're right, you can make a living out of this, but it is obviously a very nerve-wracking living if you're going to have to travel around and put the time and effort and money that you have to into your race car.
You know, the weather we're having today on Saturday the 9th of August 2008 belies the kind of weather we've had almost every day this summer.
Don't jinx it, Gordy.
I know that's been very, very difficult for racing here, at least a couple of weekends that I can recall this summer.
Yeah, we've lost 2 shows to the weather, and then we had one earlier in the year washed out on a Saturday that we moved to the next day, and we were able to get that in. So it's either 2 or 3 that we've had washed out now on the season. Our last race, as we filmed this, you said it's August the 9th. Our last race was way back on July the 19th, our last regular Saturday race.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, we did race here, of course, this past Wednesday night, but we didn't have all of our divisions in action. We had just the modifieds and then our 2 4-cylinder divisions that we call the Bombers and the Warriors. Those guys were racing. But tonight is our first regular Saturday night that hopefully we're going to get in dating back to July 19th. So it's been almost, it's been 3 weeks since we raced.
I know there's been an ebb and flow of people who come to watch the races, but are there pretty good crowds here on a Saturday night?
Yeah, I think that's one thing that we're pretty proud of. The crowd count has been really good through the season. Of course, there are a lot of factors that go into that, and you mentioned weather. Weather is one of the big ones. If somebody's thinking about traveling an hour to come here to the Speedway and there's any threat of a thunderstorm or rain in the forecast, that'll sometimes make people think twice. So in the racing business, you really hope for a Chamber of Commerce type forecast where there's no call for any or no threat of rain whatsoever, because from a promoter standpoint or a track manager standpoint, that's what you're really looking for, nice weather so that people are going to show up. But the crowds have been really good now for the last couple of seasons, and I think, again, really a lot of credit has to go to Steve Fuller, the owners of the racetrack, the track manager Randy Trudeau, Mike Perotti. They've done a lot of work to try to get people here and to make it a fan-friendly place.
We're going to look around a little bit and find out some more of the mechanics of Airborne. How about that?
That sounds like a good idea.
Thanks, Rick. We captured him. Mike Perotti, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Great to see you.
It's nice to see you also. Thanks for coming.
You know what else it's nice to see?
That's rarity this summer around here.
Oh, it's been tough. We were just talking with Rob for a few minutes. I don't know how you can plan for Saturday nights or the other night when the weatherman doesn't cooperate.
Well, we just plan as if it is and take it from there. That's all you can do. You can't control it.
I'm so glad to see you're still managing the track after all this time.
Yeah, it's a lot different than racing. I prefer racing, but this is the next best thing. I enjoy this. There's a lot of positive and rewarding moments involved with promoting as in anything.
Well, for you it was a natural progression because you had the mindset for it, I think. But you also did have an awful lot of fun going around the track, baby.
Yeah, I did. I've had a great time. I still do, weekly in Malta. But
oh, do you? You get down to Malta every week?
Yeah, every week. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it down there.
I didn't think you'd be able to stop.
No, I don't think I'll ever stop. But it's this is fun. I enjoy it. It is a natural progression from being involved in what I've done for a lot of years. So it's working out well.
You were weaned on racing, right?
Well, I don't know. I started around '73. No one really in my family was involved in racing. I just, for some reason, was infatuated since as far back as I can remember. I'm not sure what it is, but it's been a big part of my life for sure.
Did somebody bring you to the races when you were a little kid?
My grandfather used to bring me, and my uncle. They both brought me when I was very little, and maybe that was the start of it. But I think all of us as kids, or even big kids, enjoy the excitement and the noise and the speed. We're all in love with cars, and it's just kind of neat.
I hope we can relay that flavor to the people who are watching this on Hometown Cable. For people who've never been to a race like this at Airborne or any other track this size, there's excitement here.
Well, there is a ton of excitement, and you have to be here. TV doesn't do it justice.
No.
This is live entertainment. You can feel it, you can hear it, you can taste it, smell it. It's just exciting being here, and I would say that probably 80% of the people that come that had not been before return on a regular or semi-regular basis.
And it's great. Families. As you said, you memorized the names and numbers of a lot of these guys when you were a little kid, and I have young kids, my young kids who are your age, who cut their teeth on racing here, 45 years ago.
Yeah.
And I talked to them, and they still remember the names, they still remember the numbers, they still remember almost every race they ever went to. It's something that really gets into your blood, whether you're driving or a fan, right?
It sure does. When I was growing up, it was Charlie Trombley, Bob Bruno, Dick Nephew, and all those guys, and they all had a rivalry, and I was kind of different because I liked them all, and they were all my heroes. And in fact, I had lunch with Bob Bruno the other day, and
did you? Bob's hanging in there.
Yeah.
He's such a good guy.
He is, and a great racer. They were all great racers, those three guys, and there was many more, but those are just three of my favorites from the '60s. When I was
Those
growing
are the
up.
people who set the tone for this whole history of this speedway.
Right.
Because they were good beyond rural northern New York State.
Absolutely.
They never gave up.
No.
Charlie Trombley, we got to interview him before he died. He and June have been lifelong friends of mine. And stories. You talk about war stories, and they can all tell them, right?
Oh yeah, and they're true. If you think about it, racing. Chris Economack, he said it in his book. The guys that raced in the 50s and 60s, were guys that come out of the wars, and you weren't going to intimidate those guys or scare them. They'd been through a lot, so racing was just a fun thing for them to do. And just today, I had a guy show up from Naples, Florida, and he just came up here and he went and saw June Trombley and asked if he could do a replica of Charlie's car.
No.
Yeah, and he didn't know her, but Charlie touched him so much in the 60s that he just wanted to build a car in remembrance of him and bring it to the Speedway next year for display.
And put 5 and 7/8 right on the side?
Rosebud dairy, everything, just a real duplicate, and we're sending some pictures to him. It's kind of neat, it just goes back to what you're saying about how it affected us as we were younger.
Isn't that's incredible?
Yeah.
What a great tribute. I'll have to talk to June about that. That's really a great idea.
We're having last week we had a memorial for Dick Nephew planned, but we rained out. We have one Labor Day weekend, 100-lapper for Charlie.
Oh, that'll be great.
Yeah. And we did a thing for Bob here last year, a tribute to him. Of course he was here and enjoyed it a lot, and we enjoyed being able to do it for him. And there's another old timer, Wes Moody. He can tell you some stories about racing.
Oh boy, isn't that terrific? That's great to see him. I haven't seen him since his hair was a slightly different color back
I think
in
he
the old
dyed it
days.
gray.
I was just thinking as you were talking, the word safety has taken on a slightly different meaning in race cars than it did when I first started coming to these races 50 years ago.
Yeah, it's huge.
Cars are a lot different now.
Oh, they are. And there's an old coupe coming in that was running the 60s in New Jersey. So,
yeah.
we have a lot of history here, and we're trying to preserve that. Our motto is racing like it used to be here, and it's going very well. But the safety is huge. The speeds are quite a lot faster than what they used to be, but you don't need to be going faster. You can get hurt at 60 miles an hour.
Oh, yeah.
So we do everything we can do. That's our primary concern here, is to keep everybody safe.
What's the biggest wreck you were ever in, Mike?
Oh, geez, I've had a lot of them. Middletown, New York, Nazareth, Pennsylvania.
Really big ones?
Yeah. Head injuries.
Over?
Yeah, Granby, Quebec, Devil's Bowl in Vermont. Those are four that come to mind that really hurt. Yeah, head injuries. Those.
You and Evel Knievel.
Nah, no, not really.
It's hard to race, even with the safety that's built into cars today. It's hard to race very long without crunching fenders and doing a lot of things that not only hurt you, but hurt your pocketbook.
Yeah, it's numbers, you know what I mean? The more you do it, the more the chances are that you're going to have accidents and certain things are going to happen. And we raced 3, 4, 5 times a week for a long time, so it's just a matter of time that you hop a wheel or whatever,
You can't help it. We've seen wheels go into the stands.
Yes.
We've seen axles fall off. Whatever can happen.
Eventually,
we've seen it.
Yeah, exactly.
We've seen it. Now we're doing this on the 9th day of August 2008. The first really nice sunny day we've had in a long time. So I'm glad we planned this. What can people expect for the rest of 2008 and next year here at Airborne?
Well, a lot of excitement, entertainment. Fortunately, we have some big races coming up. We just had one Wednesday night that was a huge success with our big block, small block challenge. We had guys come in from all over the place, and that was great. Great race. We have a 100-lapper, as I said, a tribute to Charlie, Labor Day. Then we have a drifting event September 6th here with a group from Montreal. He's going to come down and do an event here, which is kind of neat if you've never seen it.
No, I have no idea what that is.
Yeah, it's just sports cars sliding around and making a lot of smoke and noise, you know.
That's not a bad idea.
No, it's really, they have their own following. You know, we expect a couple thousand people here from Montreal area to watch that. But then our biggest race is our fall foliage on September 21st. That's a 100-lap modified and a 100-lap sportsman race. And that was a big success for us last year. And our latest event that we just added is getting national exposure right now. We're having an enduro race, which is taking street cars, $300, $400, $500 cars off the road, and racing them for 200 laps. And we're paying $10,000 to win that. So that's
you got to be kidding me.
Yeah, $10,000. It's a lot.
Holy mackerel!
Yeah, it's made a lot of noise in the racing community.
I can understand why, can't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't you wish you had purses of $10,000 when you started racing?
Yeah, even now, you know. I mean, I'd like to be able to enter that myself, but I can't, unfortunately.
Remember what some of those purses were when you were a young guy?
Yeah, you know, it was. They haven't kept up with the old times. You know, the cost versus the purse has not kept up, you know, and it's just because it costs so much more to do anything. You know, we have insurance or higher insurance and help and on and on and on, you know, but it's the way it is, you know, we just do the best we can.
Are you planning some big changes at the track? I know you're going to do a little more construction over there.
Well, when Steve Fuller got involved last year, he went to town on this place and has really improved the physical appearance and the infrastructure of the place, and it continued to last year and this year, and has plans every year to continue to improve. And it's nice, you know, it's really nice. It's the guys really like coming here. It's a nice, clean facility. It's family orientated, and it's a lot of fun.
It was really a kick for me to come in here for the first time in at least 30 years and just look around.
Really, 30 years,
and the memories, just like a movie.
Yeah.
Going back through, you know, when the kids were small, and all the guys that you mentioned, and many more friends from Canada and downstate. It's great. Mike, it's wonderful to talk to you. I know you got a lot to do. Thanks so much for what you've done in running this track and for the good memories in your racing days too.
Well, thank you very much for being here. We need support from everyone in the community, especially such as people like yourself, to keep this going and keep the history going. You know, Lee Petty won a race here in 1955.
Oh, well, I know.
Many greats have raced here.
I was just graduating from high school that year. And
I was born.
I was here, baby.
Yeah.
Oh, that's when you were born?
Yeah.
I am old enough to be your father.
Yes,
I told you that.
Yep.
I would have been a little young parent at age 18. Anyway, Mike, thanks for your help.
Thank you very much.
Have a great day.
Thank you.
See you later. Rick Knowles, great to see you on a nice sunny day in August.
Gordy, it's good to see you, and we haven't had too many of these sunny days. We'll take all we can get.
We're celebrating the weather today. I mean, Calvin and I have been through some rainstorms. As the crow flies, on the 8th day of August, we were over at the Bluegrass Festival in Alberg. They were starting to call it the Mudgrass Festival, I'll tell you that.
Well, I told Calvin we were going to have an ark ready for him if these rains continued that we'd had all week long.
As Bill Cosby used to say, can you tread water?
Everybody is treading water. But you don't want to get stuck in the infield when you're out here racing because you get buried 5 feet deep.
Yeah.
It is just, the grounds are just so wet right now, and anybody that slides into the infield, it really causes a big mess.
We've talked to Robbie already today, and we knew we were coming over to chat with you. When did you first get interested in racing?
I think the first time I went to a racetrack, I was maybe 4 or 5 years old. My father brought me here, and I've been coming back as a fan and as an announcer ever since.
And when do you think you came to your first race? What year?
That would have been probably the late 60s.
No kidding.
Oh yeah, probably 68, 69 would have been my first year. I remember some of the cars that raced here in the 70s.
Do you remember some of the announcers up in the booth?
I think the earliest announcer that I can remember would be back when Craig Ladd was doing it back in the mid-'70s. But before that, I remember your wiry broadcast doing it from the infield.
I've already mentioned today how I dropped the microphone and ran to see if Charlie was all right when he ran into the wall on turn one, and having one of the wiry mobile units T-boned. It never drove quite the same after that. And I don't know why you're thinking the accidents, but we've seen so many spectacular crashes here over the years.
I remember a car that our current pace car driver, Butch Hendry, was driving back in the late 70s that it literally climbed the front stretch wall, rode the entire length of it, and burst into flames. There was a real bad crash last year where two modifieds got together and flipped over the Jersey barriers and literally went through a billboard on the backstretch.
Come on.
Both drivers were shaken. One driver had some teeth injuries, but other than that, they walked away. And it shows you how safe those cars are built.
I'm just talking with Mike about that. It's a tribute to the way cars are made today.
Well, safety is the number one concern. These cars go fast, and with the open wheels, when they get together, especially in the modified division, you can get some big messes.
It's a shame when you've just straightened out all the dents from the week before and put a new paint job on. But you know what? That's what happens here.
And these guys enjoy it so much. They've been doing it for so long. We had a guy whose car was destroyed here just on Wednesday night, Mike Bruno. He's the points leader in the modified division. But he's back. He's got a new car all ready to go, and the other car is junk. They kept the motor, they kept the transmission, and everything else is pretty much gone, and they're ready to go again tonight.
I don't think people realize what commitment. I'm talking about real commitment these guys have in building these cars. In the old days, these guys, they're not all multimillionaires when they're building these cars. And even back in the 60s and 70s, it cost a lot of money to put a good modified together. I can't even fathom what it costs today.
Well, unless you've got about $50,000 to spend, at least don't plan on getting into the modified division. The biggest cost of that is the engines. If you really want to compete, you got to have a good engine. You can get the car and chassis and everything for a fairly reasonable price, but then when you get into the engines, that's what drives the race reel up.
Is it really that much more exciting to be way up in the top? And I understand you do climb it up and down at least once a week.
I'll tell you what. Mike tried a couple of times to get me to come out of retirement to come back to announcing, and both times I said no because I really enjoy watching from the stands.
That's true.
There's so much going on, and when you're up top announcing, you've got to really pay close attention. You're not actually rooting for guys, and it's much more fun to watch from the stands than it is to be up top, believe me.
And you've done both.
Absolutely.
Lots and lots of times. And something else that just dawned on me as we're looking around, every track is different. Every track has its own sound, its own characteristics. Catamount is totally different track, well, because of its size and how much it's banked.
You'll see dirt tracks, you see asphalt tracks, you've got quarter miles, you've got half miles, you've got full miles, you've got the big track that they built at down in Loudon, New Hampshire for the NASCAR racing. They all vary, and the best part about it is they all draw great crowds. Racing is still an outstanding spectator sport. They draw good car counts, and that's what's keeping the sport alive.
NASCAR has done over the last 10 years, for goodness sake.
Look at the television coverage and the television ratings and the millions of dollars of sponsor money that goes out. It's unbelievable how popular racing has gotten over the past few years.
We mentioned the name Ken Squire. Have you seen him lately?
I saw Ken last a couple of years ago. Ken was a part owner here at Airborne. And
I know he was.
I worked up in the booth with Ken for quite a few years and learned a lot from him. He's a real great guy and a great guy to work with. And he still runs Thunder Road over in Barrie, Vermont, and has bitten the American Canadian Tour as well. And every once in a while, Kenny will grab the microphone and go down and do Victory Lane interviews, and he's still going. He'll never stop.
Oh, he's still got it. He's a good guy. Calvin said before we started the camera, at least I think it was before he started the camera, he asked you how many of the cars and numbers and names you remember, and you said right now, all of them.
All of them.
I cannot believe that.
Okay, you want to pick a number?
No, I don't.
You want to test me?
No, I don't want to test you. Oh, 5 and 7.
That's an old one. That was old Charlie Trombley's number, 5 and 7/8. Now you're really going back.
But it's true. I guess after you do them week after week, it stays with you.
Yeah. And a lot of these guys have been racing a long time. So Richie Watson, for example, number 09 in the sports division, has been racing number 09 since he raced 10 years ago in the street stock. So A lot of them keep the same numbers and they move up. And once you get it in the back here, it usually sticks.
Yeah. But to be able to follow them during the race and endure the sound, how do you endure the sound and keep talking at a normal level? That's what I don't know.
Well, you just try your best to keep that same level. No earphones at all.
Can you imagine that?
And when Rob and I are going back and forth when we're calling the races, and sometimes earphones would be good, so I really wouldn't have to listen to what he's saying.
Oh, make sure. Where is he? I'll tell him what you said, too.
No, you wouldn't do that. I don't know what he said, so.
But it is fun. It is a good track. It's got a tremendous history. I said 53 years. He says 54.
It's been going for, I think 53 is right.
Oh, where's Rob? He says he's got proof that it's 54.
Morris Broderick.
Morris Broderick started it all a
Absolutely.
long time ago.
And we've had various promoters back in the late 70s. It went from asphalt to dirt. And it stayed dirt from 1978 up in through the late 1980s when Tom Curley and the American Canadian Tour Group bought out Jim Kane, and they converted back to asphalt. And it's been asphalt since then, and the popularity over the past 2 or 3 years since Mike and Steve have gotten involved in the racing has just been absolutely unbelievable. It just continues to grow each year.
Since I started driving to Plattsburgh from Wyra to work on the air base on construction, I've been a racing fan, so that dates back to the early 1950s, speeding up here to watch races, go to Canton to watch races, go to Frogtown, go wherever the races were, and always enjoyed every single race. It really becomes a part of you, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Back when this was dirt, Friday night I was down at Albany, Saratoga, and Malta. Saturday night back up here at Airborne, and then Sunday down at Devil's Bowl in Fairhaven, Vermont. It was a 3-track CVRA circuit, and it really keeps you going. But it's so much fun to do. The people are so enjoyable. You know, there's so many different new people you meet each week. It's really what makes you keep coming back for
We
more.
hope this program itself will bring a few new families to discover racing in person. As Mike Perotti said, you know, television is that ubiquitous medium that brings NASCAR races to us and other races which most of us would never be able to see in person. But there's nothing that can beat coming right here to this track and standing right there in the stand.
Right by the fence, you smell the gas, you hear it so well, you smell the French fries, the cheeseburgers, the fried sausages. It's unbelievable.
Here we go. Here we go. We've both spent a lot of time here, you more recently than I, but it's a pleasure to be with you here today, and we might even be able to talk to a couple of the real good drivers.
I think we've got Bucko Branham lined up for you. He's one of our top drivers in the sports division. He's been racing here for well over 20 years, and I think he's going to be coming out after.
Let's do it, Rick. Thanks so much for everything you do.
Thanks for coming out. We're certainly glad to have you here.
Bucko Branham, how are you, buddy?
Good, sir. Good.
Wiggletown's finest.
I guess you can say that.
How many years have you been racing here at Airborne?
25 years.
Quarter of a century.
Yeah, that's a
You
long
were
time.
just a little slip of a thing when you started. Do you remember when you first got interested in racing? Of course,
Wow.
everybody in Treadwell's Mill was racing cars or building cars, from Jimmy Gwinnett to everybody else, right?
Yep. Jimmy going up and Joe Thomas, my brother Bill. That's how actually I got into it. My brother Bill and Robin, they were racing, my brother Charlie. And I decided to come out here in a spectator race, and I said, this is what I want to do. Because I won the spectator race. So.
Come on, the first one?
First one, yeah.
How could you not come back? Did
Right,
you
exactly.
really?
Yeah.
Whose car?
It was my own. I had a little Datsun 280Z. And
Hey, you don't even hear about Datsun 280Zs anymore.
No.
I wonder where it is. Probably in Charlie's junkyard.
yeah, I don't know where it is actually, because I didn't have it very long, because I beat the crap out of it.
Did you really?
Oh, yeah.
Crunch a fender every now and again?
I took it through a couple cornfields.
Oh, did you? Well, the Branham name has been synonymous with racing here for a long, long time. Your brother started before you did.
Yeah,
Right.
he was a track champion here, and actually in Canada too in '79. Won like a string of 10 features in that year. So he was really, really good, and my brother Robin also. You know, they both ran here and Canada.
Is there anybody here that's racing, for example, today, who's been racing here longer than you have?
Not consecutively. but Leon has.
Oh, that's right too, Leon. Yeah.
But I think he's probably the only one.
Now,
that I can think of.
what class are you racing in?
The sportsman class.
And, you know, we have to realize that many people who are watching this program have no idea what stock car racing is all about.
Right.
They watch a NASCAR race, and that's a different bear.
Oh yeah.
So what classes what different classes are there?
You got the bombers, for which are the younger kids, like the 13 to 15 or something like that, 15-year-olds, just want to get their feet wet in the racing. Then you got the bomber division, for which is the next step up. It's the same 4 cylinders. But then you got the Renegades, for which is a really good learning division. I mean, it's really, really good, and it's pretty competitive. I mean, there's 20-something cars every night, and you got our sportsman class, which is, to me, honestly, I think it's the best class out there because it's so competitive.
Of course it is.
Yeah, it's cars are nose to tail all night, and it's really good racing. I mean, everybody's really tight, and then you got the modifieds, for which they're a blast to drive. I mean, you got tons of horsepower, and I actually think they're easier to drive. But.
Have you ever raced modified?
Yeah, we in '95. I drove for Steve.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, and I won Rookie of the Year. Won the first race out.
Wow.
And we had 6 wins.
That's pretty terrific.
Yeah, first time in a modified.
So 25 years ago when you started, some of the really old timers were nearing the end of their careers, but some of the guys were still racing from time to time.
Yeah, I remember being in the pits here with Dick Nephew and even Mr. Stone, you know. God, even Weasel was racing back then.
No kidding.
Yeah, it's been a long time, you know. You just think over the years, you know, there's Barcombe, God, I can't remember half of the
guys. Some of the Canadian guys were still coming down back in the late 70s.
Yeah. Cabano, he stopped coming down here when they turned it to dirt.
Right.
Then we still got some Canadian guys that came down and run the modifieds on dirt, you know. So I've been through both changes when it was dirt and
I know
asphalt.
you have.
Yeah.
Well, where do you race anywhere else besides here now?
No, I work a lot, so I try to just spend a little more time with my family, which I don't really do anyway. But you know, I'm in the garage 7 days a week.
Well, when you're building cars, day and night, people don't realize.
I got a great family that understands, you know.
Well, I hope they do.
Yeah, they do. My wife's been with me for 25 years also.
There you go, right from the very beginning, right?
She's a sweetheart, yeah.
Oh, isn't that terrific? So you're going to do it till you get it right.
Yeah, hopefully this year. I'm leading the points, and I'm not usually a point chaser, but...
Isn't it nice, though? It's a good feeling because you paid your dues, but...
Yeah, I usually lead the points for most of the season, and I end up doing something stupid.
No, don't be starting that kind of stuff.
No, I've been keeping my head on straight, just trying to... I usually get a temper, you know, and...
No.
Born wiggler.
No,
Yeah,
yes,
wiggler.
you are. How many cars start a feature normally?
Anywhere from 18 to 25.
That many?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah. They're all really tight. You know, you got probably 14 cars that can win any night. So
isn't that great? In the olden days, there were
5.
5, sometimes 4, 3, and every now and again, 2 cars and 2 drivers were so evenly matched that they would have a big match race.
Yeah.
People would come from hundreds of miles to watch those 2 cars do 10, 15 laps.
Yeah, I remember when Parati and the 61 car, I can't remember his name, but they had a match race out here. I think he let Parati win.
You think so, huh?
Yeah.
Well, I know he was a great driver and he's a good track manager.
Yeah.
It's nice to have somebody like him who's been in the harness for all these years to run a track like this, because it's not easy to keep it going in good times and bad.
No, it's actually, things have been going really well. I try to help these people out as much, as much as I've been around it. I help them out as much as I can. But they do a really good job.
What's the number on your car, Bucko?
It's number 20.
Number 20?
Yeah, Tony Stewart.
That's great. We'll be watching it on television. It's great to talk to you. Great to hear some of the wonderful history over the last 25 years.
Yeah, it's been great.
Good luck tonight and for the rest of the season, Bucko.
Okay, hopefully I can get win number 3 tonight.
I love it. We'll watch for it.
Okay.
See you later, Bucko.
Thank you.
Oh, we're smelling the oil. We're right in the pits here. Mike Bruno, how are you?
I'm doing good. You know, it's a nice day out, and looking forward to get out there and turn some laps today.
You're the point champion?
Well, we're the points leader by 3 points right now going into, we got 4 races left.
Now we're talking modified division. These are the big ones.
They are. They're the 358 dirt modifieds, and you know, we're cranking 120 down the straightaways. We average a lap speed of about 113 miles per hour.
Do you really?
Oh yeah. So it's fun. It's exciting. You know what I'm saying? It's there's no other experience out there like it.
How long have you been doing it, Mike?
Oh God, I've been doing it for 20 years. You know, I got started when I was just a little guy, which I'm very thankful for, and you know, it's something that's been brought up my family, and that's really with most of the racers out there. That's the way it works.
You're just talking with Bucko Branham. You know, he came to the track as a little tiny kid. People were building cars all around him when he grew up in nearby Treadwell's Mill. And who brought you first, your dad or?
Yeah, my father, John Bruno. He raced for years, and he actually raced here back when it was dirt tracks. And
way back when?
Exactly. I ran actually a Ford Pinto out here in 1988.
Come on!
Yeah, 1988, 20 years ago. It was dirt, and I ran a Ford Pinto out here. So here we are 20 years later.
Do we want to talk about what the Pinto did in those days?
Actually, to be honest with you, I had a little bit more fun back in them days. So I go to the junkyard and buy the parts. Nowadays, you can't do that, you know?
Well, let's talk a little bit about what it takes to put a car like number 22 together.
Well, I got to tell you, the biggest thing's preparation, and no matter where you are or what you're racing, preparation's what wins races. And you know, we have a thorough program to go through the cars every week after every race, and you know, check all the nuts and bolts, make sure nothing's going to fall off the car. You know, and that's important before you even get on the racetrack.
Do we want to talk what happened to Wednesday night?
Absolutely, I'm all for it. I'm going to turn it around tonight. So.
Tell me what happened.
Well, you know, we racing hard for position. You know, there's a lot of good cars here, and we went down to the corner, and the one car, you know, got up in front of me a little bit. I tapped a little bit coming through the corner. Mark Lamberton come through on the bottom, and I was running the middle, and it was tight racing, you know, and he just clipped the tire on the inside, and it turned his wheels just a little bit, and we're both in the wall. You know, it's one of them deals, you know what I mean? I think that we just got to chalk it up to a racing experience for both of us and move on tonight and see what we can do.
Your reflexes are good when you drive stock cars, but sometimes it happens before you know it.
Well, you know, in a situation like that, 2 seconds isn't a lot of time, and you know, we had an in-car camera in actually, and we watched the in-car camera.
Oh, you did, really?
We did, yeah, and the actual front end actually broke before I even hit the wall. It was it was laying on the racetrack, so the car just slid. So you know, at that point, it was all over with.
Yeah, you were all right.
Yeah, you know, I got some bumps and bruises. My neck muscles are a little sore still today, but you know, the next morning I was, but you know, I still had to get up for work on Thursday morning. So
isn't that the way it always goes?
Yeah, it really is, you know, and so it was good. You know, we're here with our backup car tonight, and we should be in good shape.
Have you got the same engine in this car?
It's a different engine in this car. It's as good of an engine. I think this car actually handles a little better than that car. So
no kidding.
We're always all year trying to make that car like this car. So you know, we'll see what happens. You know,
was this car all together, or did you have to do some crazy work to get it ready?
This car was all together, and we actually had a guy, Timmy Fuller, run it last on Wednesday night. So yeah, we just had to do a little bit of work to fit it to my liking for tonight, and you know, we'll see what happens in the heat races.
No matter what you try to do, every car handles just a little bit different.
Well, it does, you know what I mean? And you know, sometimes actually when a car gets bumped or banged, sometimes they handle even better. So, you know, like I said, this car's got 2 races on it, so it's a stout piece of equipment, and I'm looking forward to getting out there and seeing what I can do with it tonight.
Oh, I asked Bucko if he races at any other tracks these days, and he doesn't, but you do, don't you, Mike?
Well, I do once in a while. You know, I'll go down to Syracuse and race the big race down there, and you know, I live about 5 miles from Devil's Bowl Speedway down in Fairhaven, Vermont.
There you go.
I didn't race there this year just because of time restraints, and you know, I was trying to concentrate on winning the championship this year here, and it shows that we've concentrated. You know, we're right up in the mix of it, and we got 4 weeks to settle it.
It seems like a long time, but all of a sudden it'll be that last big race.
Well, you know, you throw in a couple rainouts, and you're right, we do. We got one big race at the end of the season, and you know, I'm just happy to be here racing. I enjoy the people that I race with. I enjoy the fans, and you know, I've been Bush North racing, and I've done ACT racing, and I wanted to come here as a home and race on Saturday nights and have a good time at what I do, and that's really why I'm here.
Well, the Bruno name is right up there in the headlines, so keep it up there, Michael.
Well, we appreciate it, and we appreciate what you guys do with cable television and stuff, and it just promotes our sport, and that's what we all need to make it all work for us.
We'll be watching for you the next 4 weeks.
Well, we'll be there. We'll see what happens in the end.
Thanks again, Mike. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Look like Kids Day Out. I'm having a ball here in the pits. Jamie Vigor, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm terrific. As we mentioned many times in our broadcast today, I haven't been to Airborne in over 30 years. So it's real cool to come in here and see what cars and drivers look like these days. So, how you been?
I've been good.
I take it number 19 is your car.
Yes, it is.
Tell me, what class?
Tiger Sportsman the last 4 or 5 years.
Tiger Sportsman.
Yes, it is.
What does that mean?
It's a GM metric chassis with a 355 motor in it, with 4 jack and bolts, adjustable sway bar, a few more adjustments you can make than like the Renegade class.
You like it?
Oh, a lot of fun.
Have you always been racing this class?
No, I started back in '97 in the street stock division.
Come on, 11 years ago?
11 or 12 years ago now,
You
yes.
look like about 22. Amazing.
Thank you.
No kidding.
Yes, and moved up to the Tiger Sportsman back in '99 and been here ever since.
That's great. Now, where are you from?
We're from Moores.
Oh, all right. Now we know why you're a good guy.
There you go.
How did you know Charlie Trombley?
I sure did. Dick Nephew, all those guys.
All those guys?
Yes. Yeah. Actually, Dick doesn't live far from, Dick was in Cannons and Charlie was in Morris Forks, both in 3-4 mile radius of us.
So you grew up hearing people talk about stock car racing, right?
Oh, for sure.
And did you come to the races as a little kid?
I sure did. Yep. My grandfather used to pick me up years ago. He used to actually help Dick Nephew out, and I had to be out by the road when he was coming down or I'd miss my ride. So, yeah, we started years ago coming here.
So you got to see a lot of races before you got behind the wheel, huh?
We sure did.
What was your first car?
First car was a little Dodge Charger back in '97. We went on to win 2 championships actually with that little Dodge.
Kidding.
Back to back, '97 and '98. And yeah, it was a good car.
And you stayed with it all these years.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, a lot of devotion. I've got a excellent crew. A wife that backs it 100%, a family, sponsors that make it all possible.
That's important. Was there ever a point in those 11 years when you said, I don't think I can do this anymore?
Oh, you have your highs and lows in racing. It's like a roller coaster ride. You're up and you're down, and when things are down, you do have them thoughts, I'll tell you. But when you come back the following week and have a top 5 run, you're right back on the high and want to stay with it.
Isn't it amazing? There's a lot of roller coaster stuff in this business.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yes, there is.
But you obviously love it, or you wouldn't keep coming back week
it's in the blood.
after week after week.
Exactly, because there's a lot of weeknights, out in the garage till 10, 11 o'clock at night, and my crew and their families, and it's a big commitment for these guys, and they make it all possible.
It's something we haven't talked about today, but getting good sponsors is important too, isn't it?
Very, very, very important. I'm very fortunate. We got a lot of good local sponsors, as you can see in the car, that been with me almost from day one. And without those names in that car, we wouldn't be here. I mean, the expense to do this is incredible if you want to do it right. But like I said, we got a lot of good local sponsorship to help us out.
How many heats will you have to run tonight?
Tonight we'll run just one heat race, consists of 10 laps, and then we'll run a main event for 25 laps.
And all of a sudden it's done and you're going home saying, why did that strut break tonight?
Exactly, yeah. Hopefully not that tonight.
Do you have a good bunch of mechanics, or do you do a lot of the work yourself?
No, I got a good bunch of guys. I got Dean Superna, Timmy Superna, Dean's daughter Brooke, my wife, my brother-in-law Bill Connors, my father, and a lot of outside help sometimes too. And they make it all possible.
Well, we'll be watching for your number, buddy boy.
Alrighty, thank you.
Big win tonight.
We hope so.
See you later, Jamie.
Take
Thanks.
care.
Jean-Claude Fortin, how are you?
Pretty good, and you?
Haven't seen you in a while. What have you been doing?
Oh, we've been in the racing. I guess last time we had that TV mission with Jean-Paul Cabana and Charlie Trombley. That's back years ago. But
Poor Charlie, we miss him, you know that?
That's right. That means too bad. But I spoke to Jean-Paul yesterday. He was.
Did you really?
Yeah, he was coming back from fishing from up north. He still have his driving school at St. Air.
Does he really?
Yeah. I should have brought him up here tonight, but I will one of those weeks. He'll be more than happy to be here.
So how's racing going?
We've been struggling for the first part of the season, but we got the new car back together. I guess we get the monkey out of our back, and with this great win we had here Wednesday night, I mean, it was just beautiful. We've been working on that car, that project since last year, and when we first got it out about 5 or 6 weeks ago, the engine let go in a hot lap. And, so we had to send it back to Clemens' house in South Carolina, get it rebuilt. We had 2 weeks of rain, and finally this Wednesday.
Here's my violin.
That's right.
Oh God, it's tough, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not easy, but for us, you know, I've been coming here to Airborne, I would say late 1960, 1961, so it's a lot of souvenir for me to be here, for 47 to 48 years.
You know, that's amazing because I moved here in 1961 and I haven't been out to this track for about 30 years. And it's a real kick to come here today and see what cars look like today. What a difference.
Yeah, it's a huge difference, but I mean, Airborne is nice here. We got nice pit. The crowd is good. I mean, it's a real good atmosphere because we race. 2 years ago, we were raced 2 to 3 weeks a week, 2 to 3 days a week, and we rose Granby Friday night. We used to do Drummondville on Saturday night, and last year we started a race here on Saturday night. And it's my, if I got a choice to make, I'll be here every Saturday because it's great to be here. Nice crowd, good atmosphere. It's nice.
Racing is in your blood and always has been. You've loved racing since you were a little kid too.
Oh, I'm 64 years old. I guess the first time my father brought me to see Jean-Paul, that was at Camden Park in La Prairie. I would say I was about 8 or 9 years ago. So can tell you how long I've been coming to racing, and the racing is in my blood. And I used to own Jean-Paul's car I was with Jean-Paul for 25 or 30 years. After he retired, I went with my son-in-law, and it's just great. You know, it's a family affair, and it's just great to be in business and be back here in this northern part of New York. You know, it's nice to be here.
It's nice to breathe those fumes too, isn't it? Huh? To be right in here.
That's right.
You wouldn't be happy if you weren't in a pit somewhere.
I wouldn't come to races. I mean, you gotta be in the pit. You gotta be in the action. It's in your blood. You know. I guess I will go to races as far as I can live, or the health will let me come. But I should be here to be coming here for many more years.
Many more years to come. So who's driving tonight?
It's the same driver, Martin Roy. He's my son-in-law. And we got that car, we got Gamache from St. Paul, Gamache Truck Center, term working and logo cam. And that 90 car should be hot again tonight.
It's a good looking car.
Yeah, it looks almost like my trucks. So we had a win, 2-3 weeks ago, last win on last Saturday night, this past Wednesday. And I'm sure we should be hot again tonight.
I'm ready. If you're ready.
We are ready.
It's great to see you.
Thank you very much.
You see Mr. Cabana, you tell him we said hello.
Yeah, I'll bring Jean-Paul here because I know all those fans.
A picture of his biggest fish too.
That's right. Because all the fans here in New York and Vermont, they like to see Jean-Paul. I'll bring him one night. Give me your card and I'll call you up when he'll be here.
I love it. Thanks a lot.
Okay.
See you later.
Take care.
The busiest guy in the place, Steve Fuller. How are you?
Good.
I knew we'd track you down after a while.
Oh yeah, you'd catch me.
I got a question. Is every Saturday just as exciting as the last one was for you?
Definitely. Some are more exciting than others, but right now, every week these guys are just keep getting better and better, and it's exciting to come out and see what's going to happen this week, next week, and I'm having just as much fun now as I did 2 years ago.
You know, I've known Dave Brown since he was a little kid, and I call him old Graybeard now.
Yeah.
But he's taken pictures here for a long time. But I remember the Bob Mackey days, way back when, and the Art Prairie days, and the early days of this track in the late 50s and early 60s. And it's so exciting for me to come back here today and see the new cars and the new drivers, and like Buck O'Brenham, some of the guys that have been around here for 25 years.
We've got some excellent racers here. They've been here for forever. They bring a lot of people, and they're a good asset to our track. Great guys.
Steve, how did you first get interested in Airborne?
Approximately 4 years ago, when George and Julie Hutting had taken it over, Mike Brody, we had sponsored a car, and I got in with Mike, and next thing you know, we ended up buying the track. It was so busy for George and Julie, they just couldn't do it. And my wife was very, very interested in it, so that put the icing on the cake.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that helps a lot. You know.
Yeah, it does.
What? Any big surprises after you bought it?
No, we knew we helped George and Julie out for a couple of years, so we knew what was going on, and the areas that we had to pay attention to and take care of to try to make it family oriented and bring a lot of different people in, and we've done it. We've got a lot of great people coming to the races now.
You're sprucing things up out here really good. I'm very, very impressed.
It's fun. Unfortunately, being in the excavation business, it makes it a little easier.
Yeah.
You know?
You know how to dig holes and where to dig them, right?
Keeps my guys busy in between too. So.
Yeah, you got some plans to do some more work over around the tower.
We plan on restoring the rest of the tower. We've done 1/3 of it. We've got 2 more parts of it to do. We're probably going to do this winter. Sponsors have been excellent. I mean, the towers are full every single night. So the community has really come forward helping us out, and we really appreciate it very much.
This is racing country.
Oh yeah, definitely is.
No matter where you go in the United States where cars are raced, they know about Plattsburgh.
They do, and I'll tell you, Mike Crotty has done one hell of a job putting programs together, getting racers together. He knows everybody, and he gets some big names up here, and it really helps us out a lot.
Do you have any major plans for next year? What will be different next year? Anything at all?
We might have a different division come in and do a little running. We're not sure yet. Something we'll announce later on in the season or sometime over the winter.
There are, wow, we got a big scoop maybe. Big scoop.
We're not positive. It's something that's a possibility.
The divisions have changed a little bit since the old days.
Oh yeah, divisions have changed. Mike's introduced this dirt modified onto the asphalt, and it's a great thing, I'll tell you.
That's crazy. I can't believe that.
Yeah, you wait till tonight. You'll be excited. You'll have a good time.
How many cars will you have tonight, do you think?
Modifieds, there'll probably be anywhere from 20 to 25. We had a big event on Wednesday night, and
I heard about that.
A few of the main contenders.
Mike will remember it too, won't he?
Oh yeah.
That's hard when you bust the metal up like that.
Oh my God, it's a tough break, and those guys race so darn hard out here that things are going to happen on a small track, and the speeds these guys are going at.
He's very positive. He said he likes this car better than the other one anyway.
Mike's a great racer. He brings a lot of fans in. I enjoy having his team here. They're great guys.
So you're going to hang on to Airborne for at least another 10 years, right, Steve?
We've got a lot of plans here. There's a lot of potential. I think we've only scratched the surface so far. It just never ends. You can go forever and keep going here. It's fun.
One thing we can promise people, it'll probably never go back to dirt.
I can almost guarantee it won't go back to dirt.
I didn't think so. Steve, thanks so much.
Gordy, I appreciate it very much.
You're the best. I like what you've done here.
Thank you very much.
Good luck. Have a good night.
Thank you.
See ya. Jim Bushy, how are you?
Good, yourself?
You didn't run into anybody today?
No, I stayed out of everybody's way.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Not all the time though, right?
No. Some of that's not my fault though.
Oh, really? So are you driving or warming up?
No, we go out, we do 2 practices, then we have our heats, the features, and we go home.
The actual racing won't start till a little bit later, right?
Yeah, till about probably 8-ish. Yeah.
8-ish?
Yeah.
I think that's about what it's always been.
Oh, it's very good. Look at the field. Look at the cars here.
Isn't it great?
It's getting over 100 cars a week. The car counts are incredible. The fans fans have been really good. It's been packed almost every night except when it doesn't rain.
So you're going to drive tonight?
Yeah, I'm driving tonight. Bushy's Auto Repair, Dominic's Hardware, Perkins Chiropractic, McNeil's Auto Body, and Northern Adirondack Trailbreakers Monty Grand Prix.
You know, we talked about it before. What would we ever do without good sponsors?
We'd be sitting home in our rocking chairs.
Yeah.
We're coming.
So how's the car running?
Car's going real good. I just put 4 brand new tires on it, and we're breaking them in right now, and we'll be ready for the feature.
How long do the tires last?
You can go about 3 weeks on a set. It's $100 a pop.
Oh, is it really?
It is.
Oh man, you're gonna have to get more sponsors.
I need at least another 10 or more.
Are tires really important? Track this size?
You gotta have tires, and track offers the tires. We have to purchase them from the track, and you gotta have a good set of tires. You can't go out with junk because you're gonna run like crap.
Do you have different inside and outside tires, or what?
You just run a lot of stacker in the rear, about 1.5 inches, and it's just, you gotta have your biggest tire goes in the right front, of course.
Of course.
And your smallest tire will go in either the left rear or the right front, or right rear, excuse me.
Yep.
And just go for it. Yep.
Now, what class is this?
This is the Flying Tiger Sportsman.
Flying Tiger Sportsman.
That's what they call it now.
That's amazing.
It is.
There used to be 2 different categories back in the olden days.
Oh, yeah. I remember Dick Nephew and Charlie Trombley.
Oh, yes.
Dick Goodell. Oh, yeah. All the good old guys.
All those guys. Do you do a lot of the work on the engine yourself?
No, that was a spec motor we purchased from the track.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, it was a spec motor. Runs real good. A lot of guys, probably at least 10 people have the same motor.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's just about, you get your car to handle, and it's about handling. Simple as that.
And there are limitations for every class, right?
Oh, yeah. You have to follow the rules. So the rule books say.
You do your best, because
you got to do your best. You got to tweak them up every now and then.
They can tear you down if they have to, right?
Oh, they have to, yeah. A year ago, I was brought in the tech area after I won the race. They tore the whole engine apart. But legal. We're legal.
So who puts it back together?
Me and my father.
Oh, isn't that truly amazing?
It is.
That's the way it works, huh?
Yeah, he was track champion in '82, and I guess it's just in my blood. And I was track champion in 2001, so.
No kidding.
Yep.
Well, it's time to do it again, isn't it?
I don't know about this year. We're struggling. I'm 8th right now, so.
What's the difference from one year to the next? Is it?
I don't know. This field, the sportsman field, is very competitive. Anybody can win in a given night.
No
Anybody.
kidding.
Yeah.
That's what somebody told me, or one of the guys we interviewed earlier. That's amazing.
It is. It's all on your starting position. If you're in the inside, you're going to go to the front. If you're hung out to dry on the outside, where I've been all year, you're going to go back because you're good for a couple laps because the tires will hold, but then you'll just slowly fade to the rear.
Have you driven on other tracks besides this one?
I have driven in New Hampshire, Malone, Thunder Road.
Malone's opening again this year.
I just heard from a guy that it's going to open next year.
Oh, next year.
They're going to run Sundays at 2. That's what I heard.
They are.
Yeah,
that's very interesting because I haven't been to that track in a long time.
That's a good
I
track.
didn't think it would ever open again.
It's a wicked sharp.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it is sharp. Used to run 4 cylinders up there. Yeah.
Do you like this track as good as any other?
This is home for me right here. This is what it's all about.
What is there about it? Is it the length of the track, just the way it's banked, or just because there's good people around here?
Good people about it. It's the speed. We're flying out there. This is a very fast facility. One mistake and it could cost you a whole car.
So you can't be doing that.
Oh, no.
No mistakes tonight.
No. I'm going to go for a good top 3 tonight.
Wouldn't that be a nice thing?
It would.
The top 2 or the top 1?
I haven't sought victory since last year. I'm ready. I'm overdue.
Okay.
My father keeps telling me.
Maybe this will be the good luck charm.
I hope so.
I hope so. Thanks for talking with us.
Not a problem.
You're a good man.
Thank
Good luck tonight.
Will do.
It never ends. They get more famous and more famous and more famous. Leon Gagno, how are you?
Very good. Yourself?
You got it all trimmed up real good. Are you ready?
We're ready. We just need a little luck. That's all we need.
I bet you need a lot more than luck. I bet you really got to get down on it tonight.
Well, we've been doing well. We just need a little luck to start farther toward the front, which helps.
Tell him I said it's okay. Front row.
I hope it. Yeah, you talked to Mike?
I talked to him. He didn't listen to me any more than he'll listen to you. You know that.
Well, we'll take what we can get, but it's a little harder when you start in the middle of the pack or further back. The cars are pretty competitive this year, and everybody's running good.
I heard they are. Is it just luck where you're chosen to start, or how does that work?
No, it's handicapped and how well you've done the past 3 weeks.
Oh, it is?
Yes. We've been very consistent, so, you know, the more consistent you are and the farther up you finish, the farther back you start the next week.
Doesn't seem right somehow.
Well, that's the way it is, and it's fair for everybody that way.
Yeah.
And it gives some of the other guys some, you know, a better chance at it. Like I said, we just need a little luck, break somewhere in the race, or we're pretty close.
There is good fortune. It's, you know, so many things can happen in a race, and they happen fast, don't they?
Yes, they do. Things happen very fast, and you don't have time to think about it. It's more reflex than it is thinking a lot about it. You know, you don't have time to think and then move. You just move.
Well, that's where experience comes in.
Yes, it does.
There aren't many moves you could make out there that you haven't made before.
No, I've kind of made them all at one point in my career or another, and sometimes you know it's the wrong move, but you learn that over the years.
You can't have regrets. You just got to go.
No, I don't. We learn from that. That's what you do. You learn from your mistakes and you go on, and hopefully you don't do it again. Or sometimes it's just luck. You know, sometimes you just have bad luck in the wrong place at the wrong time.
How long have you been doing it?
A long time. A long time.
More than 10 years, 15 years?
More than that.
Come on.
More than 20.
Have you really?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I've been doing this a long time.
Did you start right here?
No, I started over at Catamount when Catamount was racing in the sportsman class over there.
No kidding.
Yes.
Totally different track than this.
Different track than this, yes. And I've raced here on the dirt. I've raced here on the asphalt. You know, it's my home track, and I'm glad we're back here. And I'm happy that Mike and Steve have taken over this.
They're working hard at it.
Yes, they're doing a good job, really. And this is a tough environment now with, you know, fuel, the cost of fuel, and, you know, what it would cost you to travel. So they've done well. They've done well.
Let's talk a little bit about your car.
My car is a 97 PMC, a 2007 PMC, put it that way. And this is not the same car that we raced last year. And it's been a very good car, really. It's been pretty consistent all year. It's just, you know, we lost a motor early that hurt us, and
did you really?
Yeah.
It blew up here?
Yeah, we lost a motor early.
That's not a thrill.
That's not a thrill. It's very expensive, and of course you don't finish when you blow the motor up. So that's what really hurt us as far as the point. But we're still there. We got a good shot at it.
So tonight's the night, maybe?
Let's hope tonight's the night. We're going to try the best we can, and chips fall where they fall.
That's what happens. Leon, thanks so much. Good luck. We'll be watching you.
Thank you very much.
You're good.
I know.
We got some classic cruisers over here. I haven't mentioned since early in our broadcast that this is a senior and family race day sponsored by the Clinton County Seniors Citizens Council, and we're delighted to have been invited out here earlier in the day. Unfortunately, the participation on the part of the public left a great deal to be desired, and not too many people took advantage of it, and that's a shame. The Classic Cruisers are a wonderful organization locally. You can see some of your favorite old cars and trucks in just about every type and variety. Some you've seen before, some are so modified that it's difficult to tell what they are, but we've seen a few today that were absolutely original, and that's cool too. So if you want to soup them up, that's okay. If you want to leave them the way they are, that's okay too. Some of the old-time race cars are also here. We'll try to take a look at those as we head over for the tower, see what we can see. You know, we talked about coupes, and coupes, of course, were king back in the days of Charlie Tremblay and Dick Nephew and those guys from way back when. And got a couple of nice coupes here today. The first car I ever built was a 39 Ford Standard Coupe, so the coupes are near and dear to my heart. For those people who are just turning on their television sets and wonder where are they, no, this isn't Matt Lauer. It's Gordy Little and Calvin Castine for Hometown Cable, and we're at Airborne Speedway. Not having been here with a microphone in my hand for many, many years, and as a matter of fact, not having visited this speedway for well over 30 years, I have no idea when the last one was. This was also typical of an award-winning car, a car that won a lot of races way back in the day. If you drive by Route 3 in Saranac, you see the Metal Man's old vehicle up in the field on top of the hill with his advertising on it. It's good to appreciate old cars. I don't have any anymore, but of necessity, I guess we both owned a few old ones over the years, right, Cal?
Yeah, it wasn't always because you wanted something classic. You just want something to drive.
Baling wire and a little string and tape held them together, and they made it. Now they're resting comfortably in somebody's junkyard.
Oh, well, I don't think my first one is. It's gone. I'm sure it's a 55 Chevy I bought for $50 back in mid-60s, I guess. And
great car, though.
Yeah.
No wonder you like 55 Chevys so
I like
much.
57s, but
57s
my
are good
parents
too.
did own a 56, so.
Oh, did they?
Yeah. But now junk cars are getting $300 plus just for something that's totally just scrap iron.
Oh, it's unbelievable. We're located right outside of Turn 1. There are quite a few bleachers now. The bleachers have been expanded over the years. It's hard to believe how loud it is when there are only a couple of cars on the track. I can't imagine how Rick and Rob can hear each other, can you?
They've got to be shouting. They're going to have extra good ears.
And extra good lung power, too, to make it through the night every week. But thank goodness for dedicated guys like that who do it. And now being able to bring it to our hometown cable viewers, that's kind of cool.
It's something that I missed. They used to do it for us years ago. And, as Rob mentioned, family things got in the way and they got away from doing it. But it's nice to have. It's a nice little piece of something that we can offer to an audience that appreciates auto racing. Obviously, not everybody is a car racing fan, but for those who are, you can't get much better than the job that Rick and Rob do every week here at Airborne.
And it's great, and hopefully what they do every week and what we're doing here today will encourage a few more families to come out here and watch the races every now and again. It's another local enterprise that we'd like to support by understanding its history, by meeting some of the drivers as we have today, and by just coming out here and becoming part of the excitement ourselves. We made it to the top of the tower again. I'm pretty proud of myself. Identify yourself.
Alicia Blaze.
And?
My name is Sherm Hamill.
We know that, Sherm. Come on. So what do you guys do here?
Well, we do all the setting up of the sponsors and our advertisers for the track. Like, for instance, tonight is Aaron's night here at the track along with North Line.
How could I not notice that?
Oh my God! It's just such a great advertising opportunity for everybody that comes here. They can set up, display their products, give away hats and T-shirts, and in this case, lucky dogs, and a couple of real nice race cars, model race cars that they're giving away, Michael Waltrip and stuff. And this is their first time here, and of course, Aaron's is a real big into the racing with Michael Waltrip and everybody else. And hopefully next year when they come back, they're going to have Michael Waltrip with them. He's going to be back driving for them again, I hear.
Come on. Is that your prediction, sure?
I'm getting that right from the lucky dog.
You've never been wrong.
Well, once I was. I won't say when.
How about you? What are you doing here tonight?
I do the same. I go around and I help with the sales and marketing and help entertain everyone.
The marketing and the advertising is a big part of it, isn't it? Sure.
Absolutely. We couldn't do it without our sponsors, and it just keeps growing. Our spectator base has really risen. We're getting 2,000, 2,500 people on a regular Saturday night here. We got our special shows. We've got our Wednesday night. We had our big block versus small block modified.
I heard it was great. I'm sorry I missed it.
We had a couple weeks off with no racing and a lot of rain.
Yeah.
We all the rubber off the track, and we had some fast racing here.
I bet you it was fun Wednesday night.
Oh my God, it was
there a good crowd?
Very good crowd, a couple thousand people, and for a Wednesday night, that's really good.
This is a Saturday night, the 9th day of August, 2008. I mention that because, of course, Hometown Cable won't be broadcasting it live, but it'll be on at some future date, or perhaps several times, because we've had so much fun. We got the best people in the world are at this racetrack, aren't they?
Oh my God, I guess so. You know, everything right from the people that we work for, which happens to be your dad's one of them, but the owners here have done a great job. Really, so many good improvements that it's unbelievable. The fan base has been great. We've got a lot of families that come here now. A lot of, you know, just good, clean fun, and they're having fun. We've got, in the racers, I mean, of course, they're the show, and we've got between 110 to up to 130 drivers here on a Saturday night.
Can you believe it?
It's just unbelievable. You know, I used to come here when I was a kid, and, you know, you'd have a race, and there was like a 10-15 minute break in between them.
Yeah.
Not here now. There's 4 hours of straight race, and these guys will come off the track, and while they're coming off the track, the next race is starting, the credit shorts are right back on the track.
How did you get interested in this?
Actually, by my dad buying the track.
You know, that helps when that happens. You know, you stop to think about it. Your dad owns the joint, then you've got to get involved.
Kind of just fall into it.
So, do you go to school or what?
I do. I'm currently going to Clayton Community College.
Good for you. Of course, for business. But you enjoy this part of it?
Oh, definitely. I love to watch the races.
Do you really?
Modifieds are my favorite.
We all do, and Sherm, I know you've been coming here for a while.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, and the racing here just keeps getting better and better. These guys are putting a lot of money into these cars, and you will see that the sportsmen, the guys that are out there practicing right now, these guys are putting some money into these cars, and they're really getting some good race teams, and just really, really good racing.
Some of these guys have been turning those wheels for decades. Some of these guys, 20, 25 years they've been racing.
Funny you should say that. A few weeks ago we had a little tribute to Bucko Branham. And
we interviewed Bucko on this program earlier today. Never a more colorful personality from Whaletown or anywhere else will you find, but he's the best. He's such a neat guy, and he is a hard driving guy.
Oh, absolutely. You know, and we had back again about 4 weeks ago, Danny Sullivan came out with a brand new car. On his first race out, he crashed, wrecked his car real bad, a lot of damage. And Bucko stepped right up to the plate, helped him out, I heard
about that.
Just really got him back. And tonight's his first night back since the crash.
Yeah, you know, even though they're fierce competitors, they're still comrades.
Oh, absolutely.
And I've seen them, you know, you need a certain wrench, a guy in the infield in the old days help each other out.
It's still the same way. These guys help each other out, and you know, you still had that little
yes, you do.
competitive. You know, if they do something wrong, they'll let each other know about it. Believe me.
It's great to meet both of you.
Well, thank you, Gordon.
You'll be tremendously successful. Maybe in the 2 years or so, you'll be owning the joint.
Yeah.
You can tell your father what to do.
Push him aside.
You got it. Thanks, guys. See you later, Sharon. Bye-bye. I don't know why I didn't wear my Yankees hat tonight. You know, I had to read the kids.
For balance?
Yeah, for balance. There's no way. If we're on a teeter-totter, Rob, you know who's going to win.
Not lately, Gordy.
Oh, God. You know, we have had so much fun today, Rick. This has been a blast.
This is a great place to bring the family for a Saturday night of outstanding entertainment. There's families that come in here with old kids, young kids, and they become fans, and they come back each and every week.
You know, let's talk about divisions. We have somebody's playing the game on you. That could have been dangerous, though. Whoa!
Who needs that?
It wasn't a 22 shell, anyway.
No, I think I'll survive.
That'll be after the race. Let's talk about the divisions. Did you say that there are kids 14 years old that are driving?
The Bomber Division, which is one of the entry division, the 4-cylinder cars, there are 7th and 8th graders starting out at age 14 and up.
I cannot believe this. They can't drive on the road, but they can drive.
Actually, our youngest driver was involved in a bad wreck earlier in the year as well, totaled his car. And then the next week, had another car ready to go. So it speaks to, even at that age, for many of these drivers, it becomes such a part of their life that if something goes wrong, they get a lot of help from their crew, their family members, and in that kid's case, they were working to put a new car together for him for the next week, and they had it ready.
You talk about putting together a new car, they can't soup up that 4-cylinder engine, right?
It's pretty much a basic straight stock engine. They don't make many adjustments to it, and that keeps the cost down quite a bit.
Are they allowed to put strong outside shocks on it, or what? Do they have to leave them really the whole car stock?
Everything is basically stock in the entry-level divisions. They can mix around with the camber.
Glass is still in it? They don't.
Glass is still in it in the windshield.
You gotta be kidding!
Oh, yeah.
Wow, at age 14, talk about a bath by fire.
Well, I mean, you figure most kids at the age of 14, they're starting to get interested in girls and other activities that wouldn't necessarily put them here at the racetrack. But what a way to win the girls over, huh? You got a fast car on Saturday night, come watch me race. So for some kids, I guess that gets them on the racetrack.
So how long has this bomber division been around? I'd never heard of it before today.
It started out when Mike and Steve took over the operation. They separated the four-cylinder class into two divisions, one with veterans, drivers with 4 years experience more. That's where you'll see some of the older drivers. And then the bomber division's for the new guys. There's some older drivers in the bomber division that just don't have the racing experience, but there are still quite a few kids out there that are just getting their feet wet. And even some of them are still quite small, are sitting on pillows so they can see over the steering wheel. That's a true story.
It's true. That.
And they put on some great competition too. Sometimes people think the smaller classes, they're not as fast as some of the bigger cars that we have, but the advantage for those cars, of course, smaller wheelbase. So we'll see that division sometimes run 4 wide around this racetrack as they're trying to pass each other. No, and that's very common.
What a great way to get wet behind the ears for this sport.
It's perfect. It's inexpensive. It gives them a lot of fun. And you'll talk to a lot of the drivers that raced in the upper divisions now that'll tell you when they started out in the lower divisions, but they didn't do it at 14 years of age. They had to wait till they were in their 20s.
Yeah.
Now these kids are starting at 14. They're just going to progress even quicker.
And we're seeing a residual as well from the go-kart racing action that now takes place here. On Tuesday nights, typically, they race go-karts. And some of those kids, of course, are younger than 10 years old in the go-karts, and they get involved in racing. They enjoy the go-karts, and the natural progression is to race car.
So what's the next division?
The next division up from the 4 cylinders would be the Renegade division, which is the division of basically old Chevrolet Monte Carlos. We've got one Camaro running.
Yep.
Mostly 8-cylinder cars, full fendered bodies. Again, there's only so much that you can do to those cars outside of what's stock.
They motivate pretty good.
Oh, they certainly do. They get around the track well. There's great competition. We've had numerous different winners at that division, and that's another division where it's a natural progression. It just slides them up into the faster cars. As each division progresses here, the speeds go up, so do the costs.
Of course. And racing can get pretty expensive.
It sure does. That Renegade division has some very competitive drivers in it, and it's for there are a lot of guys that don't want to get too in deep, I guess, over their heads money-wise, and that Renegade class can allow them to run regularly on a Saturday night, V8 engine, and still have some pretty good success.
Still have fun.
Fun's the big thing. We've got some drivers in the Renegade division who are in their lower 20s. We've got a driver who's in his late 60s.
No kidding.
Doesn't matter how old you are, you can come out here on the track and have fun.
Oh, that's great. Okay, what's next?
After the Renegades, you can move into the Sportsman division, formerly known as the Tigers. And the Sportsman division for drivers like Bucko and Jimmy Bushy, who were on earlier. And these cars really move, and there are a lot of adjustments that are made. The sort of stock portion of it goes away when you move into the Sportsman class.
And the expense of course, starts to go up as well. You're dealing with more expensive motors, everything about the car, the bodies that they put on them. You'll see more crew members with those types of cars, and some of the drivers have been at it for some time. Bucko Branham, who you talked to earlier, 25 years he's been doing this. So there are some drivers in that division with a lot of experience.
That's great. And then you get the modifieds.
You get the modifieds, what the people come to see, the fast cars, the open wheel cars, the big buck cars with the big sponsors and the big haulers, and they put on a show.
You know, the cars cost a lot of money, and look at some of the trailers.
Absolutely, yeah. And as we were talking about earlier, a lot of drivers from Vermont, a lot of drivers from the province of Quebec, so drivers really from all over the area that are participating here at Airborne.
You know what? I have to say it again, because if I can't convey my enthusiasm to this camera, then I failed miserably. But I am enthusiastic about coming here today and enjoying this from early morning when I got to tell ghost stories, children's stories to young people and some people who weren't so young. But it's nice to have a family fun day. Introduce seniors to stock car racing. We saw one little lady who suffered from various illnesses who somehow got into a car and went around this track.
Keeping in mind the door doesn't open.
Keeping in mind, I said to her when she got out, how did you do it? She says, don't ask. Because I know there would be somebody dialing 911 pretty fast if I tried to get through one of those windows.
We'd have to get a shoehorn in some cases to get people through. Like Rick.
Like Rick. Have you gone around the track?
We haven't. No, I at least haven't. What about you?
When it was dirt, I raced in a couple of media races.
Did you really?
Without much
I should have
success.
known. Oh, never mind.
No, I have not. So, and I'm in no hurry. I like my perch upstairs. That's perfectly safe and it's a lot more
Hope
fun.
the whole thing doesn't collapse on you.
Yeah, that's true.
We hope we've created some memories today and refreshed the memories of some people who haven't been to this track in a long, long time. A lot of the people I talked to said, no, I haven't been to Airborne since 1984 or whatever. We're glad we came back, and we hope we can inspire some other people to do the same. It's guys like you who are keeping the spark alive.
Well, I think there are a lot of people that have put a lot of energy into this racetrack again, and I think within the greater Plattsburgh area and Clinton County, there's a lot of motivation and momentum for this racetrack, and I think people are sensing that indeed there's something really nice here. And if you haven't joined us for a Saturday night of racing, we really want to invite the people that are watching this fine program to do that.
How can you not get cranked up when you hear that sound, right?
It's fun. That's the whole thing.
Of course,
It's
the smell
fun.
of hot dogs helps a lot for me, right? Rob and Rick Knowles, thanks a lot for your contributions. It's been tremendous over the years. We hope it stays for a long, long time.
Well, thank you, Gordy, and thank you, Calvin, for coming out and visiting the Speedway and getting the word out that indeed we have a real nice racetrack here in Clinton County, one that I think we can all really respect, and hopefully we'll get some people that will see this program maybe be motivated to come out and join us one night.
I think that's great, and that's the way it is and was for Senior Family Race Day at Airborne in Plattsburgh, and who knows where we're going to be next time for our little corner.